I remember that night with terrifying clarity, even now at 26 years old. I was only 12 when it happened. My parents left me at home with my older brother, Zach, who was 18 at the time. To me, the house felt enormous, and for the first time, it felt like freedom. That excitement didn't last long. Not even an hour after they left, Zach told me he was heading out with friends. He made me promise not to tell our parents. I agreed without hesitation. I trusted him. And honestly, I loved the idea of having the whole house to myself. At first it felt fun, empowering even. I settled into the den and put on a horror movie, which, in hindsight, was a terrible idea. Halfway through the movie, my confidence faded. The house had started making sounds, the kind you never notice when other people are around. Floorboards creaked, wind whispered against the windows. The refrigerator clicked on and off like something breathing away. Every loud sound from the movie made me jump. I kept glancing over my shoulder toward the staircase, half expecting to see someone standing there in the shadows. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I shut the TV off and sprinted upstairs, that childhood instinct kicking in. The feeling that something invisible was chasing me the second the lights went out. I locked myself in my room, brushed my teeth in the connected bathroom, and tried to calm down. Then I distracted myself with video games. Hours passed. Time disappeared. Until I heard the front door. The vibration echoed through the house. I assumed Zach was home. But something was wrong. Instead of going upstairs like he always did, I heard movement downstairs. Slow footsteps. Strange thuds. Sounds that didn't make sense. My stomach twisted into knots. I checked the driveway. Zach's car wasn't there. That's when panic truly set in. I didn't have a cell phone. The house phones were downstairs, exactly where the sounds were coming from. I locked my bedroom door, fully aware that it could be opened from the other side with almost no effort. The only place that felt remotely safe was the crawl-in closet. I hid inside, pulling the door shut and holding my breath. Then, the bedroom door opened. Someone was inside my room. I listened as they moved around, shifting objects, dragging something across the floor. Every second stretched into eternity. I was certain that if the closet door opened, I wouldn't survive. Eventually, the footsteps faded. I stayed hidden for hours. Finally, I heard Zach calling my name. When I stepped out, he yelled, asking what I'd done to his room. That's when we knew. Someone else had been in the house. Drawers were open. Electronics were gone. We'd been robbed while I hid silently a few feet away. Even now, years later, I can still feel that fear. Trapped in the dark, listening to someone walk through my room, not knowing if I'd make it out alive. When I was very young, not even old enough to understand danger properly, I lived with my grandparents in a quiet, peaceful town. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where doors were left unlocked, and fear felt like something that belonged in movies, not real life. Because of that, adults constantly reminded me of one simple rule: never open the door for strangers. One neighbor in particular was around often. I'll call him David. He was friendly, familiar. He watched hockey with my grandpa, drank beers with my uncle, helped with yard work, and even assisted during hunting season. To a child, he felt safe, like part of the family. That's why I didn't panic the night I was briefly left alone. My grandma was at bingo. My grandpa had stepped out to pick her up. He asked if I wanted to come along. I refused because I was watching cartoons. Before leaving, he reminded me not to open the door for anyone. The house went quiet the moment his truck disappeared. Only minutes passed before there was a knock. I asked who it was. David answered. He said he'd just seen my grandpa leave. He knew my uncle wasn't home either. His voice sounded casual, almost rehearsed. Then he asked to come inside. I told him I wasn't allowed to open the door for strangers. That's when he said something that changed everything. "I'm not a stranger. You know me." In my young mind, that made sense. So I unlocked the door. The moment it opened, the mood shifted. He was drunk, towering over me, swaying, his eyes unfocused. He stepped inside and grabbed my shoulders. At first, I wasn't scared. I'd seen adults drunk before. But then his voice changed. It became angry, cold. He dragged me into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and pressed it against my stomach. When I cried, he threatened to cut my throat. He even dragged the dull side of the blade across my neck to prove he meant it. I was frozen, certain I was going to die. Then, headlights. My grandparents' truck. Relief hit me for half a second before his hand clamped over my mouth. My grandma walked in and screamed. My grandpa charged forward without hesitation. What happened next is blurry, shouting, struggling, fear, until finally David was forced out of the house and the door was slammed shut behind him. Years later, I realized something terrifying. He hadn't come randomly. He waited until everyone was gone. And even stranger, no police were ever called, and no one ever saw David again. This happened during spring break in 2020. I was 15 years old and home alone. That night, I got a call from someone I barely talked to. I'll call him Mason. His voice sounded rushed, almost panicked. He asked if he could drop off a mutual friend, someone I'd known since elementary school. I didn't want company. Mason begged. He sounded desperate. Eventually, he offered something stupid that convinced me. I agreed, a decision I regret to this day. When they arrived, everything seemed normal at first. But before Mason left, he grabbed the other guy, Neil, by the shoulders and whispered something urgently. "Don't do that thing." That sentence still echoes in my head. Once Mason left, Neil asked me a question that instantly set off alarms. "Are all the doors locked?" I showed him they were. That's when he smiled. Not a normal smile, an empty one. Then in the kitchen, I saw him slowly open the drawer with the knives. Without thinking, I slammed it shut and grabbed his wrist. He laughed. That laugh chilled me. My heart was pounding so loudly I could barely think. I knew one thing for certain. I was in danger. I made an excuse to go outside, locked him out, called for help. Later I learned the truth. Neil believed voices were telling him to kill someone, or himself. That night could have ended very differently,